Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed, when we bent there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've numberless days to sing God's praise. Then when we first begun, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Moore III, and welcome to the Late Night with Ed Moore III, Season 3 premiere, here on this Friday, September 7th, 2012. It is 7 minutes past the hour, here on 91.9 FM, WLJS Jacksonville. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be paying tribute to a day that all of us, no matter where you come from, your color, your creed, your nationality, your political party, your religious affiliation, or even your place of work. A day that changed the way Americans think, the way they act, and the way they lived. The day America changed forever. That day is Tuesday, September the 11th, 2001. A day which will forever be carved in the annals of world history. The day the worst terrorist attack was ever carried out on American soil. With next Tuesday marking the 11th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, we wanted to dedicate the third season premiere of Late Night with Ed Moore III to reflect, honor, and remember those whose lives were lost, as well as those who still to this day, even 11 years later, deal with the tragedy of that dark, dark day. Our purpose tonight is to hopefully bring about a sense of healing, solace, and inner peace with the day that shook our sense of security as individuals and as a nation. We sincerely hope that you enjoy our program tonight. And most importantly, we hope that it will provide you with a warm sense of deep and delicate comfort, as is our best intentions. A fact that cannot be denied about the September 11th attacks is that it affected everybody: men, women, Black, Hispanic, Democrats, Republicans, the young and the elderly. And our panel of guests tonight reflect that American togetherness that was brought about from that day. Our guests tonight come from all walks of life, some younger, some older, some men, some women. Some are from the South, some are from the North. But one thing that they all have in common is that they are all Americans, and that they all remember where they were on that fateful day. I would like to introduce our tribute show guest for the evening. You may remember her from our season 2 finale that we aired back on April the 20th. That was the Late Night with Ed Moore III season 2 finale. Her name is Miss Sierra Garner. She is 23 years old, and she is a retail manager from Atlanta. Our next guest, Jonathan Spriggs. He is 20 years old, and he is a restaurant manager from New Orleans. And meet Brittany Pearson. She is 23 years old. She is a tutor, and she is from right here in the state of Alabama. Meet Diamond Lucas. She is a 23-year-old restaurant crew trainer from New Orleans, Louisiana. And meet Pamela Horton. She is 32 years old, and she works with the Disaster Action Team for the American Red Cross. And she is also here from the state of Alabama. And meet James Burton, who is a media production personnel, who is also one of my colleagues here at WLJS Studios in Jacksonville. Hello to you all. It is such a pleasure to have all of you all here. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special night, a night that we have been planning for 4 months now, a night that has been in the works since the month of May. I would just like to know from a few of you, Sierra Tillman, I'm going to go ahead and start with you first. Sierra, everyone, is the daughter of a news reporter who had to go to New York to cover the 9/11 attacks. And one thing about your perspective, Sierra, that makes it so interesting is that you do remember where you were from that day. And not only do you remember, but you had a mother who had to go to 9/11 to cover that. Tell me about that. What was that like for you?
I was in the 7th grade when 9/11 happened. I remember everything. I remember what I was wearing, like what I had for lunch that day. I remember everything. But the basic thing that I remember, the most important thing that I remember is that everyone from school was like their parents were picking them up and everyone was leaving. And I remember being the only person in my classroom left that did not go home. And when I thought I was going home, they were telling me that my mom wasn't going to pick me up. And that she was going to where this huge disaster just happened. And I remember my teacher changing the channel with all of us in class. We were like 12, we were in 7th grade. And we saw the second plane go into the towers. I'll never forget it.
Pamela Horton is the 32-year-old disaster action team personnel with the American Red Cross. Pamela, what do you remember about September 11th? Where were you? Who were you around? And how did you first find out that something wasn't quite right in America?
I was actually in a biscuit bake-off in Collinsville, Alabama. And I noticed everybody like scrambling around in the background and looking at their phones and things like that, but nobody had said anything, right away. And then it kind of find out, they were like, well, 2 planes had just hit the towers, the whole story came out. But you still didn't take it all in, like, what had really happened when you see it, because I just heard it, and it's like, okay. And then when I went home that day and when I seen it on TV, I was like, wow. So that's how I found out about it.
I want to reintroduce 2 of our other guests here tonight who were from New Orleans, Louisiana. They are survivors of Hurricane Katrina. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring them onto the show is because I wanted them to kind of bring their perspective from one tragedy to another. As you all know, Hurricane Katrina was a Category 5 hurricane that devastated the city of New Orleans back in 2005. It was August of 2005. As a matter of fact, the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina was just a couple of days ago, rather. So you two were survivors of Hurricane Katrina, and you all were from another tragedy that America had their eyes on, that the country was focused on, that the country was centered on. What are you all's thoughts about 9/11 coming from another American tragedy?
Well, I feel what, they went through. During 9/11, I was 9 years old. I was in the 5th grade, I believe. And when it happened, my teacher, she immediately turned on the television. And being so young, you tend to not, really care about what's going on. But it touched me at a young age. And watching it on television, everyone was devastated, As she did say, everyone, got out of school early that day. And we continued to watch it at home on television. And it was just a tragedy, and my heart went out to them.
Diamond Lucas, who is the 23-year-old restaurant crew trainer from New Orleans, Louisiana. Diamond, you were also a survivor of Hurricane Katrina. How do you view 9/11 and its tragedy when you kind of compare it to the tragedy that occurred in your own city, the city of New Orleans, Louisiana?
It was very similar, I can say it was, but just like everybody else said, I was at school on the playground and I didn't know what was going on. And all I just know was the teacher was just coming out telling all the students, come in class. And just like Jonathan said, by you being so young, you don't really realize what's going on because you're so young. Like, you don't really take it as serious, because I didn't know what was going on. So as we went in the classroom, looked at the TV, I went home and continued watching it on TV. And, it kind of like hit me that people would really do something like that. Because, not only did it affect people in New York, it affected everybody. And it's stuff like that, that's still going on today. And I feel like my question is, like, when is it going to stop? Or if it's going to stop?
Has you all's sense of security as Americans Has it been broken?